$160 million of revenue. Less than $200 million of revenue. And the most important thing that we have to achieve is we are trying to convince world-renowned companies that we can do their IT systems, we can build their systems from India. Typically, the systems which were either managed or being built by native professionals for 20, 25, 30, 40 years. Here we have to tell them that we've got all these bright engineers with a fantastic engineering degree, no doubt, but I have no experience. So the only way to do that was what Mr. Kohli used to say: let us industrialize the software process. How do you industrialize the software process? So from a people-driven process, let's make it industrialize the software process. So there used to be many quality standards. You call it ISO, you call it software CMM, we call it people CMM, etc. So we came up with this concept at that time. I called it integrated quality management system. So how do you take processes that are required in order to build an organization, in order to train people, in order to hire people, in order to develop software, maintain software, all facets of the company. Not only look at the software making process. And then we came up with our unique concept called an integrated quality management system, which included what we used to call as key process areas. And that helped TCS enormously. We became the first company globally to be certified at the highest level on what became very famous later on as the software CMM. Though it was originally invented in the Carnegie Mellon Institute, it was significantly adopted by the Indian companies, starting with TCS and all the major Indian companies all put in their effort. And then it influenced all the global companies to say, if anyone wanted to provide us with software capability, build systems, they have to be qualified at the highest level in these standards. So I think quality is I learned a lot during this process. And anyone who has run successful businesses or why businesses, who has been successful in anything, will know the only way to do things is to first put in a lot of hard work. That's taken for granted. Then you have a process. They understand what goes into winning. And then how do you follow it and follow it consistently for years. So the cricket season, IPL season, if you go and ask a CSK or somebody else who won the cup so many times, they will say it's about the process. We don't worry about the outcome. We follow the process. So take marathon running, it's the same thing. You just cannot go and run a marathon. It's a process. You have to follow the process. It requires for anyone to train. You have to put in the hours, put in the miles. And you got to run certain miles on certain days. And the process involves anyone to know how fast you run, how slow you run. So there are intricacies. So like organizations. So I think if we have to solve all the problems. I'm not only talking about business. Everywhere we have got to adopt process. Quality is not a buzzword. And to me, quality is first. More than a process, it's the customer. How do you define a successful organization, a great quality organization? The customer is happy, the customer has. Then you know the company has a good quality system. Because you couldn't consistently perform for the customer if you don't have a good quality system. Now coming to the current phase of India and the global situation. Globally, without going into much details, the current geopolitics is getting more and more complex every day. The big economies and big powerful nations, the US and China, or let me say that redefining their roles. India in this world order is definitely defining its role. This coupled with the mega trends, there are many things we can talk about. I will mention three. One, artificial intelligence, and whatever else we bucket in the word digital. That trend is a big trend. Everybody has to adopt, businesses have to adopt, services have to adopt, people have to adopt, society has to adopt, governments have to adopt. And with that, you have privacy issues, you have cyber security issues, a whole gamut of things come into that bucket. We call it generative AI today, and tomorrow morning you wake up, there will be a new term. All these things are going to happen, it's happening very fast. The second is the energy transition. Sustainability. They were sitting there and they were mentioning that it's a big challenge. It is a challenge, but the deadline to move towards an environmentally friendly world, let me put it that way, instead of using decarbonization and all that pace has to increase and the pressure will only mount. Third is the resilience of supply chain, because the world witnessed what can happen if the supply chain breaks up during the COVID. And resilience of supply chain will be fundamental to keep businesses going, lives going. We can't afford a situation where things collapse in the supply chain and people don't get access to a product or a service. That world is difficult to think. Now, you take all three of this. The nation which has the biggest advantage and biggest opportunity is India. Because if you take the first mega trend, the digital and AI and all that, the maximum talent that is required for that transition is in India. Even today, 16% of the AI talent is in India. This number will increase. Second, in my experience, traveling around the world and working with different countries, there are no better examples for the use of technology to do a large-scale public services delivery and social transformation than what has happened in this country. Be it in tax systems, be it in payment systems, be it in Aadhaar, be it in UPI, be it in any number of passports, any number of fields. We have a huge experience, huge success. We know how to deploy technology to. Sometimes we don't know how to solve small problems, but we seem to know how to solve big problems. Second, the energy that is required for India, capacity that is required for India between now and next 25 years is just enormous. We don't even have the capacity that we need, even 25% or 30%. So much energy capacity has to be created, and it all can be new energy. So when you have to make a transition, it's very easy, all of us who run businesses, if there is growth. People will say, anybody, any entrepreneur here or any businessman, you ask them, can you invest? They'll say, Dhanda milega to karunga. Right? So if there is an opportunity for growth, I will invest. So that's the situation we are in. There is no other country I know which has such a growth potential, so they all have to replace. So it's very hard. When you have to replace something, it's very hard. When you have to grow, it's very easy. Third is in supply chains. The opportunity is in everywhere, whether it is semiconductors, whether it is electronics, whether it is pharmaceuticals, whether it is batteries, lithium, new materials, everywhere there is a huge capacity needed, huge alternative source needed, and India, because of the size scale, I call this a India plus model. India working with others will create a global supply chain. But if you have to win all these three things, there is one thing that's required: quality.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.